This week's show brought to you by SCAD, Scott Countyans Against Drugs. Welcome everybody to the Scott County Cardinals News Graphic Football Coaches Show. Can you believe it? The final week of the regular season, episode 10, as we have arrived at the 10th and final game, senior night this week. The Cards will host Pleasure Ridge Park of Louisville. That game will start at 7:30, but it is going to be a busy night before and after that, as it's senior night for everybody that hasn't had a senior night yet, basically. Football, band, cheer, dance, cross country. They all have senior night this Friday night. Band at 6:30, football at 7, and then at halftime, cheer, dance, and cross country will be recognized. So come on out and see that. As the reason for all of this happening on one night is this is more than likely the last home game of the season. We're so used to playing 2 or 3 playoff games at home. That's not going to be the case this year for a variety of reasons that we've gotten into and probably will get into again as we go forward into the next couple of weeks. But as it stands right now, Scott County will go to Campbell County the first week of the playoffs after a bye week. That'll be Friday, November 2nd. If they win that, they would most likely go to Frederick Douglass on November the 9th. If they were to pull an upset there and then maybe beat Henry Clay down the road, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, there's a chance they could be in a state semifinal at home after Thanksgiving. But a lot of things have to fall into place before that. So all the seniors getting recognized this week. We mentioned PRP as the opponent. If there's a team in the state that's had a more brutal schedule than Scott County, it's probably PRP. If you look at their last 5 losses, last 5 games, they've lost them all. They have played 5 top 10 teams in Class 6A. They've played St. X, they've played Mayo, they've played Butler, they've played North Hardin, and they have played DuPont Manual. Lost them all. Most of them have been one-sided, but that just shows you the kind of caliber opponent they've played, and it's not going to get any easier for them playing the 6th-ranked team in the state in 6A in Scott County, and I think they're probably even a couple of spots better than that are the Cards. But PRP didn't handle Scott County very well last year on its home field, as it was 48-0 to start the game in the first half, and SC just kind of held on with the running clock for a 48-21 win. But a lot of trouble stopping that wing tee, a lot of trouble stopping Austin Barnett. He had 4 touchdowns last year, so I think you can expect him to be a key again. But the Cards have diversified their attack, especially last week against Dunbar. We saw Montego Jones run for a couple of touchdowns. One of them was highlight film stuff as he rolled over a tackler and just kept on going without his knee touching the turf. And also Bronson Brown had a long touchdown run in that game. You also saw Glenn Covington return to the lineup, and he had 2 touchdown catches from Cade McKee. Threw a pass to Bronson Brown that almost was caught for a touchdown, did Covington, and he ran for 2 two-point conversions as well, and that's something to keep an eye on. Scott County went for 2 on all 4 of its first 4 touchdowns. I asked Coach McKee about that, and you'll see his comments in a moment. Kind of trying to shake things up and maybe work on some things that are going to have to be done in order to upset a team in the playoffs, whether it's Douglas or someone else. So a little different wrinkle from Scott County in the Dunbar game, which they won by a score of 53-8. It wasn't even, that 8 came very late in the game, and Dunbar had minus yardage before. An 80-yard run by Dre Thurston put them on the board. Just a convincing win that Scott County really needed after back-to-back losses coming off the Henry Clay and the Douglas games. It was time to get back on the winning track. Move to 2-2 in the district, wrap up that number 3 seed, and now got they know what's ahead of them. PRP this week, then they've got a week off. If the PRP game is kind of one-sided and they can maybe rest some guys early, that gives you a real good situation. 2 one-sided games, a game where the team didn't have to play the entirety, then a week off. You're going to be physically very fresh going into that Campbell County game on the road in the first round of the playoffs. So hopefully the Cards building some momentum and taking care of business as we get to the end of the regular season this Friday night. We spoke with Coach McKee about that game, the Dunbar game. We spoke to him about some other issues, the 2-point conversions, wanted to talk to him about the JV and freshman teams. He gets into that a little bit as well. So let's see what Coach McKee had to say going into this final week of the regular season.
While outsiders may have detected ups and downs, Coach McKee is pleased about how the Cards have positioned themselves for a playoff run.
Well, I think that anytime you have a season, you're never going to be in the same place in any 2 weeks. And the team that you have in July is oftentimes not the team that you have in November. And so really your focus and your points always got to be, it's got to be the journey to get to the destination. You can't just focus on the destination because the journey's going to be different in high school football. You're going to have guys out, you're going to win games, you're going to lose games, you're going to have highs and lows. And so I really like where we are in terms of, the potential to have the ability to be as healthy as we can be, as rested as we can be, and have a good bit of momentum going into the playoffs.
McKee sees senior night as a great place to get re-energized for what lies ahead.
I can remember my senior night when I played, and you probably remember yours. And the only thing I've always challenged those kids to do, because a football team, in all of my, I've had different teams in different careers or in different points in my career where, even though they were good kids, and maybe through our approach as a staff, but it got to be November the 8th, 9th, 10th, and it was like, man, we've been out here since July, bro. And you're going to lose when that happens. Even if I had my very first team ever as a head coach. Like, I was still running them multiple gassers and sprints week 10. And I just didn't really know. We had a really good team. We were undefeated in the regular season. We lost in the first round of playoffs. And so that's a big key for our guys. So I've always really encouraged them, rather than say it's senior night, why wouldn't it be kickoff night? Why wouldn't you change the name of it to kickoff night? Because I'm getting ready to kick off the best part of my career.
Going for 2 points after every touchdown and switching up the plays on offense against Dunbar was designed to rejuvenate the attack.
We haven't had a lot of mojo on offense for a little bit here. Just trying to get a little mojo to my guys, get them feeling good. And, we tried to go extremely fast with our pace on Friday and tried to spread the ball out a bunch. And, instead of being as fullback heavy as we've been, try to get everybody involved.
The JV season hit a speed bump as a result of the varsity team's needs.
You probably have read some of these articles. We'll know more a year from now because there'll be 2 schools here trying to field JV teams. JV football's never been a problem for us because we've had such large numbers. But, we got our JV game canceled this week. We've had 2 of them canceled. And then in our case, the facts are the facts. I got 2 pair, you got a full house, you win. We took Campton Martin off the JV, and he was they more or less could not get him tackled in a JV game. And so our JVs have struggled a little bit since then, but they're supposed to have 2 games next week. They're 4-2. And one game we actually played, the other team didn't have special teams, if you can imagine that. So we just marked off 35 yards for a punt. So we're supposed to play Lafayette on Monday and Mail on Thursday. And we're real hopeful. Lafayette played their JV game yesterday. We know Mail will play, so that's good.
McKee shared his ideas about some reasons for diminished participation in Kentucky high school football.
But I really think as football coaches, the number one thing where we're missing the boat is we're starting too early. We're starting too early. We started this year July the 10th. With our upperclassmen. And, Royal Spring started July 10th. I'm not knocking the Royal Spring coaches. Campton Martin's dad, he does a really good job. He had a game August 4th. He needed to start to get ready. I just think, especially at the younger ages, that, we don't need middle school and youth league football going on in July at all. Because, you're going to eat away at your pool of potential players. If you've got 40 freshmen on your team at your school and I got 30 at my school, who's got a better chance to have more seniors 3 years later? You.
All right, that was Coach. It is his show, the Coach's Show, and he had some good comments as always. Look forward to speaking with him as we get into the playoffs, and he's got a lot to lean on in terms of history. It's been a while. He has to dig into the history to find a season where Scott County had to go on the road this much in the playoffs, but I know he's got some plans for that. We look forward to the November schedule as the Cards pride themselves on being November ready. Here in the final weeks of October, we spoke to a couple of players after practice. On Tuesday of this week, we got Zach Coleman. He had one of those 6 quarterback sacks against Dunbar for the defense. And Cade Mullins caught one of the 2-point conversion passes that we talked about, and he's been a key blocking and catching passes at tight end this year. See what Cade and Zach had to say.
The Dunbar win was a chance for the offense to grow and for the defense to shine.
We brought out a couple new plays that we haven't put in yet and we've been working on for a while during practices and stuff like that. So it was good to get experience with those and get to see them in film, what we need to work on with those and whatnot.
The win over Dunbar was extremely helpful for our defense as a whole. We came out fired up. We wanted to play. We got our swagger back this week.
Zach Coleman described his interception against Dunbar.
I fired off and I was making my pass rush move, and then I looked back, and then I just see the ball in the air, so I ran back and I got it. And then I see a couple dudes in front of me, and so the ref was right there. So I try to use him, the ref, as a shield, and I try to make it to the outside, but kind of fell short on that.
The Cards were happy to end their losing streak in style.
Yeah, it felt really good. It felt really good for everybody else, good for everybody to run around and have fun.
Losing 2 games in a row really, is bad for a team and, for us especially. But, winning this one game really got us back to where we normally are and, our winning type of mentality.
Senior night sneaks up on the players every year.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, it's a little anxious, but we're excited for it. It's going to be a good experience for all the guys. And it's a little kind of crazy that it's gone this fast. And you never really thought about it. Every senior says that, but whenever it actually hits you, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It seems like we've been playing on this field forever, and this could be our last time, suiting up in the Scott County jersey, playing on that field, just one last time, and we want to do it together as a team and get the dub.
Scott County won't overlook PRP, whose 2-6 record is deceiving.
From what they said, they're better than Dunbar. Like they said, like all the coaches have said, we're not taking anything for granted from now on. We made a mistake by doing that, and that's what happens. We pay the price for it, and they got a good squad. They got athletes just like every other team, so we got to play smart, and we just got to play the way we're supposed to play.
They're kind of big, fast, but nothing we can't handle.